Hello, my lycanthropes, my lolitas, and lovelies lost in between the realms. Welcome back to another episode of Small Town Goth. I want you to think back to March 2003. I know, it's been a minute. I remember being in an apartment building at one of my best friend's birthday parties, and very peculiar. We all were, as I think we had just started high school, and one of the kids was running around with a samurai sword, the pizza had just shown up, and I remember the radio kicking in and saying, "Folks, we have a new single dropping fresh off the press here for you today." Of course I am talking about Evanescence's Bring Me Back to Life, and I cannot describe for you enough how much that song hit me right in the feels. I finally felt like I was being called home, like someone understood the level of angst I was feeling, the level of darkness in my world, and I'm not talking about a darkness depression or a darkness sadness, I'm talking about a darkness and a revelry, a true glory and love affair with darkness. And honestly, it only got better from there. Like many other Canadians, I was a huge fan of watching much music, and it was a huge escape for me right after the day was done at school. I'd come home and watch that, kick in to see George Stroumboulopoulos kick it away, and honestly, seeing the music video just took it that next step further. Very cool tones, very dramatic angles, not to mention the presence that is Amy Lee. What a force to be reckoned with. I don't think that it took too long before I started seeing them do live performances, and just the costuming and the outfits that Amy Lee put together, and learning and understanding very early on that she fabricated and made all of these herself. Amy knew exactly who she was, how she was going to present herself, and put it out there. And honestly, what a badass. It's just such DIY punk kind of approach to things, but we're now working in this darker, dare I say, gothic rock element. So to kind of dig in to where Evanescence started off, it was 1995, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Amy and Ben Moody got together through, I believe it was a Christian choir, and this is how they really met each other. This is where also Evanescence intrinsically became intertwined with Christian charts. And to be honest, I don't even know if my mom would have allowed me to get the Fallen album if there wasn't that level of saying, no, this is a Christian band. Something worth noting is that Amy grew up classically trained with Bach and Mozart, but she was also a huge fan of musicals. She had said in one interview that she would be the type of friend who would drive around in her car with her friends and blast Danny Elfman's The Nightmare Before Christmas album. And when friends had had enough and said we need to switch to something else, she'd be like, no, we're gonna rewind and start from the beginning. She had also said in an interview with Danica Patrick that she never set out to be a rock musician. And it's looking at these influences that she had outside of rock to show us what kind of person that she was gonna become in the music industry. I think that with Amy having a real voice, something to say, and not necessarily something to prove, but having to really stand on her own two legs as a woman in an industry that's dominated by men, and probably having to be very assertive, I think rock came naturally. She is a bit of a natural rebel. She has her own, she always advocated to think for yourself, act on your own accord, and that obviously is going to show through in her creative endeavors, and we can see that in her music coming out and expressing itself as rock. And she is absolutely one of the top queens of rock, I think, because of this. And I think for generations to come, we will see more and more younger generations fall in love with the Fallen album for the same reason everyone else has up to this point. I really have to give kudos to Evanescence for being such a pivotal moment for me in my love affair with dark alternative music. Seeing people out there, especially female-led, be like so defiant in like who they are and creative and support free thinking was exactly what I needed at that point in my life. I think that there was that like Tim Burton-esque like fun safeness as well with some of the dark expression. You know, I loved some of the over-the-top makeup looks, like streaks down the face. I loved the red and black or white and black arm warmers and like mixing tutus with corsets. There was something really awesome there with that. Obviously, with my own gender journey, I had a lot of complications about what does that mean for me and my own expression, but it did push me out of the box, and like I would take red and black, you know, fingerless gloves and arm warmers to school and apply makeup in secret at school and take it off before I got home. Eyes burning red, of course. But now I'm coming at you here a little vlog styled, but I think it would be amiss if I didn't dig into some of the track listing here and like what I really love about this album bit by bit. We have the first 4 songs. These are the main singles. Everyone who knows Evanescence from the Fallen era is going to know these 4 songs. We have Bring Me to Life, Going Under, which by the way is like my favorite music video. There's something really awesome about seeing this display of a crowd kind of turning into zombies. Even the makeup artists, as they're putting Amy together in the video, are like festering, almost hungry. It really speaks to the way that we as consumers truly consume the artists and the art that they create. And this is something that I have long had, is like, if you're not contributing to the world, all you're doing is consuming. Where is the give and the take? Where is our connection to nature in the cycle of life? Not just in the food we eat, but in what we bring to the world. And it's a profound thought, and I think only Evanescence could execute it in the fashion that they did, like the Going Under video. So awesome. Moving forward, we have Everybody's Fool and My Immortal, which of course all of us have an emotional connection to on some level. You can just feel it there, it's so raw. But then we have track 5, and honestly, I think this is the segue into the better half of the album. Haunted for me is really that love affair with darkness, and not in like a depressing way, but truly a sense of like, I am haunted. There is this looming nature within me that is unlike what the rest of the world typically shows. Everyone's trying to reflect sunshines and rainbows and show off their best selves, and you know what? It's not accurate, and there are some of us out there in the world who see through that or see the other side and don't want to ignore that or even want to celebrate the dark side a bit. But Haunted is a beautiful video that really shows it with these like droning tones and notes, and the melody is so romantic. And I think as well really segues what is the truly goth element of Evanescence going into the second half. Maybe the music doesn't have direct ties to goth through post-punk and the evolutionary tree that way, but literary it entirely does. The entire nature of goth culture is like horror mixed with love, or like self-reflection mixed with, you know, looming sense of mortality and morality. And we see this both in writings like Frankenstein or Dracula, and we entirely see this especially in track 6, Tourniquet. And Tourniquet takes what was happening in Haunted and ups the ante a little bit. It gets a little more aggressive with some actual screaming vocals, not quite the way that maybe other people who listen to metal might be familiar with, but we do get a level of aggression, and the entire song is like is it a soliloquy where they're saying, if I'm about to take this step of ending everything, am I gonna be damned and never reach the peace that I'm seeking? And I think that there, as much as it's a philosophical self-discussion, that there is a truly like gothic element to that questioning and that dialogue. Carrying onward, we have Imaginary, a beautiful ethereal song. And it's funny because like as you dissect the evolutionary tree of goth, there is a subsect that is ethereal. And again, Imaginary has no ties to this ethereal section of goth music. There is a level of reflection there. I really think that it carries the band's name so well. It's very evanescent. We have Taking Over Me and Hello, which I think is another absolute masterpiece of kind of falling into like the fog or the mist in this like realm between realms. Feel like you're almost like in a purgatory state. You're reaching out to talk to ghosts and you're meeting them halfway, stepping outside the physical realm that tiny bit to meet them at their level. My Last Breath, which is another phenomenal song, and then the cap note in crescendo that is Whisper, which just culminates everything. The soft and the brooding, and like there is a really beautiful just almost like slowly easing into a cuddle or something like that. All in all, just fantastic album. If you only know the singles from Fallen album, you are totally missing something, and I urge you to go back and listen to the latter half of the album, the best half, especially in celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Fallen album. Now, I've missed it by a long shot. That happened in March of this year, but still, 20 years, that's a milestone. That's pretty big. Now, something else that I think is worth noting and celebrating is in a lot of interviews, Amy Lee talks back in reflection on the Fallen album about building the world of Evanescence, creating this dark world that is safe, comforting, and for kind of misfits and people that don't fit in. And it's something that I think she's done very well, and I think this is, again, a part of why a lot of fans fall in love with the world of Evanescence. Being marketed with Daredevil, I think, was a step in the right direction. It created some visual kind of ties. Again, her costuming and the music videos just take it to the next level and really cement the world of Evanescence. But I know for me in particular, having one of their songs used in the Underworld movie series was a huge crossover. Especially in the first film, there is such an aesthetic quality to that film that goes even beyond the storyline, and the storyline itself is super romantic. I mean, it's about as clear of a reflection of Romeo and Juliet that you can get, especially through a horror lens. I do believe Underworld is slated in my schedule to be the next video of Small Town Mall Goth. But yeah, once again, just like really wanting to take a moment and celebrate that Evanescence did a phenomenal job building their world, building a safe space for other outcasts and people that don't fit in. As you can see, there is so much to say about my love for Evanescence and what they really meant for me when they first came out, and still do to this day, if I am being honest. But I won't keep you guys too long, and I will leave you off here. Once again, I am your girl, Ayla Belle. Thank you for joining me. This has been another episode of Small Town Mall Goth. As I said, join next episode, and we will dig into the Underworld movie series. And until next time, keep your canine sharp and your mind sharper.